We're going to exchange presents after the show.
Oh yes, finally I will see. You know I have a secret poll going for who's who on the Secret Santa.
I know who
I ended up running.
I know who I got, that's all I'm saying.
I feel like I have a gamble going here.
That's alright. It's one of your many faults. We gonna go in? Okay, good. How's the baby?
Yay.
So cute. Except from the right. In just a moment, Autolite presents Suspense with Herbert Marshall. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and in Santa's sleigh, the electrical system was plenty okay. The ignition was perfect, worked like a dream, and the sleigh ran so smooth it made Santa beam.
What was Santa's secret, Harlow?
I heard him exclaim as he drove out of sight, "It's no secret at all! It's just Autolite!"
Now, Harlow.
You see, Hap, with all the kids in the world depending on old Saint Nick on Christmas Eve, he plays it safe by replacing old or worn-out parts in his Autolite-equipped car, sleigh, with Autolite original factory parts. Resistor spark plugs, stay fuel batteries, distributors, starting motors, coils, generators, wires, and cables, all famous for their Autolite ignition engineered dependability. Santa does it. Why don't you?
Harlow, let's switch from Santa to Suspense! Suspense! Autolite and its 60,000 dealers and service stations bring you radio's outstanding theater of thrills, starring tonight Mr. Herbert Marshall in Anti-Leader's production of A Tale Well Calculated to Keep You Suspense!
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Oh, jingle bells,
Herbert.
jingle bells, jingle all the way.
Herbert!
Yes, yes, my dear.
What on earth are you doing down there in the cellar?
I was just doing a little digging.
And why, may I ask, have you chosen this day of all days to dig up the cellar floor?
Well, I thought as the weather has been so damp, this would be a good time to plant that little devil's garden I told you about.
Devil's garden?
Yeah.
What nonsense is this?
Well, that was my little joke about it. You see, I've managed to get a hold of the spores of several unclassified wild orchids. In their wild state, they bloom under damp masses of leaf mold. The Arcunian Indians call them devil flowers because they appear to bloom under the ground. That's it.
Well, I'm sure the Arcunian Indians would be very interested if you'd succeed in growing those ridiculous flowers under the cellar floor. Whom else it will interest, I can't imagine. What's that terrible smell?
Oh, that's the leaf mold, chemically identical with the earth blanket they grow under in the wild state. I suppose I should line the pit with concrete as to prevent seepage from this foreign soil, but I don't suppose there'll be much time for it now, and I do want to get these started before we close the house.
There certainly will not be time for it. Do you realise that we're sailing for America a week from today and you've made no arrangements whatsoever? Unless you call digging a hole in the cellar making arrangements. I certainly don't. Devil's garden, indeed. Sometimes I think you're going off soft in the head, Herbert.
I suppose it's inconsiderate of me. You see, I've been wanting to try this experiment for a long time, but what with my lectures and seminars at the university, there never seemed to be any time.
Well, there certainly isn't any time for it now. I suppose you've forgotten I made an appointment for you with the barber this afternoon.
Oh, must I shave off my beard, Hermione?
I thought we'd been through that. Of course you must. They don't wear beards in America. Go get your jacket and do as I tell you.
Yes, Hermione.
And don't forget to take your umbrella. It looks like rain.
Yes, Hermione.
Oh, don't look so put upon, Herbert. Someone has to plan things in this house, or you'd never get to the university in time for your lectures, much less arrangements for a trip to America.
Yes, Hermione. What about my specimen?
There'll be plenty of time to plant your precious devil's garden when we get home from America. We're not going to be gone forever, you know. We'll be back here for Christmas.
Yes, Hermione. Back for Christmas. I'd forgotten all about that.
Well, try to remember it, and if you can't do that, just do as I tell you. I've been making the plans in this house for 20 years, and if there's any digging to be done, I'll manage that as well. You understand, Herbert?
Yes,
Good.
Hermione.
You have just 20 minutes to clean this mess up down here and keep your appointment at the barber's. When you finish there, I want you to come straight home.
I wanted to stop at Miss Markham's and pick up some books that I ordered.
Well, all right, but don't loiter there and hold afternoon drowsing over those old books the way you usually do. Now hurry and clear up this rubbish, get rid of that smelly stuff, and no more digging, mind you.
Oh, yes, Hermione. Yes, Hermione. How many years has it been since I've been saying that? 10 years? 15? 20? Clean up the rubbish. Yes, Hermione. Don't forget your umbrella. Yes, Hermione. Do this, do that. Yes, Hermione. Yes, yes. How much longer can I take it?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Miss Markham.
Why, it's Professor Carpenter, isn't it?
You like me better this way?
You look ever so much younger without the beard. 20 years at least.
20 years?
You'll be glad to know those books you ordered have finally arrived.
Books? Oh.
Vitanomia phalloid gametophytes and coniferous shrubs of North America. Those are the ones you ordered, aren't they?
Yes, thank you. You're very kind, Miss Markham.
My kind, Professor Carpenter.
Well, not many young ladies in bookshops would go out of their way to look up rare books for an old professor of botany.
Why, you're not old, Professor Carpenter. Really, you look... And besides, I adore botany. It's my particular hobby.
Really? You never told me that before, Miss Markham.
I was afraid to. You were so imposing with the beard and all.
Oh, well, you might be interested in some specimen of alpine polyanthus that were just sent to me by a friend in Switzerland.
Switzerland, I used to go there always for my holidays, before the war.
You love Switzerland?
Every part of it. The lakes, the mountains, the beautiful spring flowers, especially the flowers.
It seems we have quite a lot in common, Miss Markham. I'm sorry we haven't talked before.
I am too. It was all the fault of the beard, it seems.
Oh, Miss Markham, forgive me if this sounds foolish, but I feel that shaving off my beard is the most important thing I've done for 20 years.
Oh, it is. It sure is. I'm ashamed that I've been so distant with you all the time. Oh, there were times when I almost spoke up. Times when you came in here, tired after a day with your students at me university. You seem so alone, the way I'm alone in the world. I'd like to have asked you to stay a while and talk with me, but some way or another I wound up giving you your change and letting you go on your way.
You say you're all alone in the world?
Since my father died.
Did you ever think of marrying?
My father was a very remarkable man. I never found anyone who seemed to measure up to what he led me to expect of men. When the war came...
Ah, Miss Markham.
It's been so long since anyone called me by my first name. I'd like you to, if you want to. It's Marion.
Marion.
And yours?
Herbert.
How long have you been alone, Herbert?
Alone?
I knew you were a widower, of course, the first time I saw you. I can always tell. There's a certain sadness in a man's eyes, a sweet sadness, I think, when he's been married and then...
Widower? I never quite thought of it that way.
Perhaps I shouldn't be talking like this, but I've often wondered what you must have been like, your wife, I mean.
Hermione, well, not an easy woman to forget. Very strong, always managing things. The house, my wardrobe, my friends. When we dined at a restaurant, she even ordered my food. She was always managing things. You might say she managed herself to death.
Poor woman. You must have loved you very much, but she didn't have put herself out, so it's plain to see you don't need things managed for you. You need companionship. I think someone sympathetic with your work. But the last thing on earth you need is a manager.
How well you put it. The last thing on earth. That's the first time I thought of it, of course. Suddenly a whole new world opened up before my eyes. Marrying in America. No more of Hermione's planning my life for me. By the time I got home, my mind was working overtime.
Where?
Jingle bells, jingle all the way.
Well, at last. You certainly took long enough about it. What are you looking so pleased about?
Oh, I don't know. Getting rid of the beard, perhaps. I feel 20 years younger.
You look even smaller. Your face looks triangular or something. I'd forgotten your chin was so weak. But never mind. You can grow it back soon enough after Christmas. Where are you going?
Down in the cellar. I just bought this electric lantern and I thought I'd put it away down there.
Now, whatever possessed you to buy a thing like that?
I don't know. I rather like this lantern. It might come in handy. Who knows?
Now, Herbert, don't start digging down there again. I have 100 things to do, putting the house in order before we leave. I want you to carry these boxes upstairs for me.
Yes, Hermione.
And if you're going down to the cellar, take this along and stuff it in the furnace.
But this is my old bathrobe. I may need it, Hermione.
Nonsense, I bought you a new one. Get rid of it, and don't start puttering down there with that devil's garden, whatever you call it.
I'm through digging, my dear. I think the pit is quite deep enough for my devil's garden. It all would have been carefully planned, of course. Just as carefully planned as Hermione was planning a trip to America. We both went about our arrangements as the day passed. I spent all the time I could with Marion. And finally, she consented. And then it was the last day, the big day, the day we were all set sail for America.
Operator, are you there? I'm still waiting on that call to Salisbury. Oh, well, put him on. Quickly. Hello, is this Raoul? Is this Paul Holt and Sons? It's Margaret. Yes, it's Herbert Carpenter. Did you receive my letter? Good. Now remember, we'll be back for Christmas and I want the job done without fail. What's that? No, I'm sure he doesn't suspect anything. Send the bill to me in New York as I instructed you. Address in my name. Of course. Yes, I've already put him in mail. You'll get them tomorrow, thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, there you are, Herbert. Where have you been?
Backstairs. I dismissed all the servants.
Dismissed the servants, but I've asked for some friends of mine into the farewell luncheon. Go and tell them it's a mistake.
I'm afraid it's too late now. They've packed and gone.
You have messed things up properly. How many times have I told you to leave things to me? I plan things around here.
Yes, Hermione.
You'll have to do better than this when I plan the trip home, and we'll never in the world be back for Christmas.
Back for Christmas. Back for Christmas. Must you keep saying back for Christmas?
Why not? We are coming back for Christmas, aren't we?
Supposing I were offered a professorship in one of those wealthy American universities.
Yes. Nonsense. Americans care nothing for botany.
Luther Burbank was an American.
That's different. And what have you ever done except muck around in the dirt with a lot of roots and tubers?
They ask me to lecture. That means something.
Of course they ask you to lecture. Americans would pay to hear any foreigner deliver a lecture once. Now, there's no use getting yourself in the state about it, Herbert. No doubt this extra money will come in handy when we arrive.
Back for Christmas,
Precisely.
I know.
It's no good you're making a joke of it. Heaven knows where you'd be today if I hadn't got a sense of time.
Yes, my dear Hermione.
Unless you've been foolish enough to dismiss the servants, you may empty the ashtrays and straighten up this room while we're waiting for the guests to arrive. I'm going upstairs to change. Call me when they get here.
Yes, Hermione. Yes, Hermione. Yes, Hermione. For 20 years, Hermione always so right. Thought of everything. Well, not quite everything. There. Running her bath now. Safe to call Marion. If Marion were to change her mind now, after all, we haven't known each other very long for this sort of thing. If she had any idea that I was not a widower yet. Marion. It's Herbert, my darling. Nothing's wrong. My plans are the same, unless you've changed. No? Well, then we'll meet in New York and we'll be married there. I'll explain why later. Yes. You'll just have to trust me. Yes. Yes, my darling.
Herbert.
I'm sorry, I can't talk any longer. Yes, I'll meet you in New York. Yes, without fail. Yes, all right. Until then, my darling. All right, yes.
Herbert, were you talking on the phone just now?
Yes, Hermione.
Whoever was it?
Freddie. Freddie Sinclair, yes.
Didn't I hear you say something about meeting somebody in New York?
Why, yes, old Freddie said he might possibly get over there before we leave, and I said of course we'd meet him there, if he did decide to go.
That seems very peculiar. But then all your friends are peculiar.
Yes, Hermione.
And just look at your jacket. Have you been digging in that cellar again?
Yes, Hermione.
Well, there's no need for it. You can't possibly get that Devil's Garden thing finished. Go and change your clothes before the guests arrive.
Yes, Hermione.
Never mind, I see somebody coming up the walk now. Go and let them in.
Yes, Hermione.
Herbert.
Yes, Hermione.
Look out the window, there's Professor and Miss Gooden. Enough. But who's with that, then?
Why, it's...
Precisely. Freddie Sinclair, peculiar. You should have been talking to him on the phone no 3 minutes ago, and now here he is.
Yes, isn't it? Well, as you say, Hermione, all of my friends are peculiar.
Not half as peculiar as you. Digging in the cellar an hour before we leave for America. Just look at yourself now, I think of it.
Yes, Hermione.
Oh, never mind. Go and let them in.
You were going to ask me something, Hermione, about the hole I'm digging in the cellar.
Oh, good heavens, stop rolling your eyes about that one way or another. Who would think you were digging a grave down there instead of a storage bin?
Yes, Hermione.
What's that?
I said, yes, Hermione.
Oh, bother, open the door and stop staring, saying yes, Hermione.
I think, my dear, I have said it for the last time. For Suspense! Autolite is bringing you Mr. Herbert Marshall in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense! Well, Hap, what kind of presents are you giving your car this Christmas?
My car? Now be sensible, Harlow.
I am being sensible, Hap, because the most sensible thing every car owner can do is treat his car to Autolite preventive service and Autolite factory parts now. Right now. Like Santa does. For with an Autolite checkup now, your car won't let you down later.
Here we go!
Autolite parts are original factory parts on many makes of our finest cars. The same as those put in the car the day that it was made. Resistor spark plugs, stay valve batteries, generators, distributors, starting motors, coils, wires, and cables. Your car really uses them all. So Autolite makes them all. You know, Autolite parts and your Autolite's equipped car go together like Damon and Pythias. Like Duncan and Fife. Like Chip and Dale. What's one without the other? So don't accept parts that are supposed to be as good. Get Autolite parts, for Autolite parts are built for your car. And Santa's car. And everybody's car.
Harlow, you're wonderful. Oh, why you've got Santa and everybody switched Autolite.
So, friends, follow the footsteps of Dasher, Dancer, Donder, and Blitzen and whip on down to your nearest Autolite service station, or the dealer who sells your make of car, and ask for original factory parts and service.
Okay, Harlow, right now, here's Suspense! And now, Autolite brings back to our Hollywood soundstage Mr. Herbert Marshall, starring in a gripping tale well calculated to keep you in suspense!
Back for Christmas. Hermione was so positive that we would be back for Christmas. That last afternoon pouring tea for a few friends who had come in to say last-minute farewells, she kept reiterating it.
Now mind you, Hermione, don't let the Americans lure your husband with one of those fat university jobs. We absolutely must have you with us for Christmas.
We will be back, I promise you.
It's not absolutely certain, of course.
Herbert, what do you mean it's not certain? Of course it's certain. After all, Herbert, old boy, you've contracted the lecture for only 3 months.
Quite right. Then of course anything may happen.
Herbert adores being unpredictable. Now what other man would decide the very day, mind you, before leaving for America to dig a great hole in the floor of the cellar?
In the cellar?
Yes, he's got something unclassified, wild orchids down there. A devil's garden, if you please. Sounds mysterious. But Herbert, though, it's really quite simple once you find out what he's up to. Now take that telephone call he put through to you a few minutes before you arrived, Freddy. To me? Of course, Herbert wanted to surprise you. Surprise me about your plan to meet us in New York next month. Wasn't that why he called? To ask you not to mention it? But my dear Hermione, Herbert couldn't possibly have telephoned me within the past hour. I've been walking in the park ever since 3. You didn't telephone you? How could he? And as for my going to America...
Oh, come, Petty. You may as well own up. Hermione has found me out again.
But, Herbert, you old chap, I really don't... See what a poor liar Herbert makes. He's as red as a beetroot.
Aren't you ashamed of yourself, Professor? Stringing poor Hermione along like that. And as for you, Freddy, I'm furious you said nothing to us about going to America.
But look here, old girl. I've been trying to tell everyone here that... Oh, stuff and nonsense. The game's gone on long enough. Besides, we must start getting ready. It's marvellous, all of you. Come in and say goodbye. And don't worry about Herbert's little jokes. I will bring him back for Christmas. You may rely on it.
They all believed her. For years she'd been promising me for dinner parties, garden parties, committees, and the promises had always been kept. This time they wouldn't be. I'd seen to that. The servants were gone for good. The farewells all said. I had timed to the minute how long it would take to fill in the hole in the cellar. My devil's garden. Upstairs in the bedroom I undressed, folded my clothes over a chair and put on my old bathrobe. Then I opened the door into Hermione's room and said, Hermione, have you a moment to spare?
Of course, dear, I'm just finished. Come in here for a moment. There's something rather extraordinary here. Good heavens, Herbert, what are you lounging about in that filthy old bathrobe for? I told you to put that in the furnace.
I'll do it today. Yes, I really will. I promise.
Wait, high time. Now, what is it you want to show me?
In the bathroom here, dear. Just look. Who in the world do you suppose dropped a gold chain down the bathtub drain?
Nobody has, of course. Nobody wears such a thing.
And what's it doing there?
I didn't see anything.
Wait here. I'll hold this flashlight for you. If you just lean right over here, you can see it shining deep down.
Such a lot of nonsense, just as we're... I don't see it, Herbert.
Go on looking, Hermione, in just a moment.
Herbert, I absolutely refuse to... Herbert, what are you doing? Well, take your hands off my neck.
Well, Hermione, just as soon as I've finished the arrangements for my trip to America.
What are you talking about?
You thought you were the only one who could plan things, didn't you, Hermione? Well, I've been making some plans of my own this past week. In exactly 1 minute and 45 seconds, you'll be dead, Hermione. You see, I've planned it very accurately.
Never gotten away with it there.
Oh, I thought you'd say that, Hermione, but I will get away with it. You won't mind the smell of the leaf mould down in the cellar when I take you down there today. Yeah, that's where you're going, Hermione. Into my devil's garden. Oh, it annoyed you so much. The soil full of clay, it won't settle much. Oh, in a month or so, it won't even look dug up. That's all expect for Christmas. If they don't hear from me, they'll wonder. And if I don't come back, they'll start asking questions. No, they won't. Because you'll write them letters, Hermione, on the typewriter, as you always do. They'll be signed H in that neat cryptic way you always sign your notes to your friend.
Leave me up now.
Now.
It won't work, Herbert. You were never any good at planning things.
I've changed. I've learned from watching all you years how to do everything just right.
Lecture people in America. They'll be expecting you to be travelling with your wife.
I will be travelling with my wife, but not my present wife, Hermione. Fortunately, they've never met you. I'll write a few letters home for you, then fewer, then fewer. Write letters signed with my own name, always expecting to get back, never quite able to. Keep the house 1 year, then another, then another. They'll get used to it. I might even come back alone in a year or two and clean it up proper. Say you died in America, no one will ever suspect you're lying under the floor of the cellar in this very house.
Herbert, it won't work. I tell you, that pit you dug in the cellar.
I can assure you, my dear Hermione, it will serve its purpose well.
Herbert!
Sorry, my dear. I've got to get this done on schedule. You should have just 5 seconds left to say your prayers.
Herbert, you must listen in the cellar. Don't do it, Herbert. Herbert!
The water cut off at the main as I knew it would. She was so thorough. So was I. A clean blow at the base of her skull. Nothing to wash up. The electric current shut off at 1 o'clock just as she ordered it. She thought of everything. But so did I. My nice new electric lantern, plenty of light to work by in the cellar. The old bathrobe she wanted me to throw away came in handy now. If there should be any chance of bloodstain. Then in the fire with its afterwards, the last evidence of my devil's garden. It was going well, still in all. An hour left till I had to leave for the boat. The hole was almost filled up.
Ding dong!
Oh no, go away, whoever you are, go away. Did I leave the front door unlocked? This is Wallingford. No. Go away. And after that it was easy. I put the finishing touches on the Devil's Garden, dressed fast, got out of the house before 6:30, took the boat train to Southampton and boarded the ship for America, all according to plan. Hermione's plan. Oh, steward.
Yes, sir.
My wife is indisposed. She'll be taking her meals in our stateroom.
For the whole voyage?
Yes, for the whole voyage.
I trust your wife is feeling better this morning, Professor Carpenter.
A little. Not yet well enough to leave her cabin.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
By the way, here's a copy of the radiogram you sent for your wife last evening.
Thank you, I'll just take it over. Look here.
What is it? Did the typist make a mistake?
No, nothing important. My wife can correct it later. For a moment I had a feeling that Hermione had been leaning over my shoulder again, correcting what I had written, as she always used to do. I'd written a radiogram to Professor Goodenough and his wife. Haven't been out of my cabin the whole beastly trip. Herbert well, doubt we'll be back for Christmas. The copy read, no doubt we'll be back for Christmas, exactly what Hermione would have written. Well, the rest of the voyage was uneventful, and Mary and I met in New York, just as we had planned. Just as we had planned. Professor and Mrs. Carpenter, we have reservations, I believe. Oh, yeah, we're expecting you, sir. Boy, take Professor and Mrs. Carpenter's luggage up to the suite. You know, Mrs. Carpenter, you're quite a looker. Your letter reserved the rooms was so thorough, I was expecting an older, more forbidding sort of person. Frankly, ma'am, you're gorgeous.
No, as a matter of fact, we are just married, but my letter reserving the rooms?
I wrote the letter, my dear, and I signed it Mrs. Carpenter, just as a joke.
What a cunning old fox you are, Herbert.
Now that I think of it, I am, rather.
Oh, I almost forgot. There's a letter for you, Mrs. Carpenter.
That's peculiar. I wonder who I know.
Well, we'll find out in good time. Come along, my dear. We're keeping the boy waiting. Nothing like a cold, brisk shower to put a man to rights.
Herbert, this letter...
Yes, the letter. Dry my hair, will you, dear?
Seems to be a bill of some sort from a building contractor in Salisbury. Oh, bother. Dry your own hair.
Oh, thank you, my sweet. Let's see this bill or whatever it is.
It's very puzzling, Herbert. You were a widower, weren't you? I mean, Hermione isn't still alive.
Good heavens, no. Well, let's have that, dear. Dear Madam, that's a good one. This is to acknowledge your order, together with the keys to your house in Launceston Place. Our men had no difficulty in finding the place where your husband had begun the excavation in the cellar. But apparently he changed his mind at the last moment and filled it in again.
What was it, Herbert?
Our men will begin digging tomorrow, and you may rest assured that it will be a professional job and will be completed in ample time for your surprise Christmas present to your husband. We are happy to be conspirators with you in this thoughtful gesture and hope that Professor Carpenter will be pleased at the result of our work that he so quaintly calls his Devil's Garden. Very yours truly, Paul Holt and Sons, Contractors.
What's it mean, Herbert?
It means that Hermione was right. I will be back for Christmas. Back for Christmas. Back for Christmas. Back for Christmas.
Thank you, Herbert Marshall, for a splendid performance. Mr. Marshall will be back in just a moment. Jingle bells, jingle through the snow. Your car's all happy, it's full of pep with all I you know.
Right, and by Cornelius, electrical problems won't keep your car down when you stop at the shop that features Autolite parts and services. Sure as Kris Kringle means Christmas. Autolite original factory parts and service top the town. So, friends, stop in tomorrow at your friendly Autolite service station or the dealer who sells your make or care and ask for original factory parts and services.
Autolite. You'll find Autolite service stations listed in your classified telephone directory under Automotive Electrical Equipment. And remember, your Autolite ignition system is the lifeline of your car.
Yes, friends. Remember, too, Autolite means spark plugs. Ignition engineered resistor spark plugs. Autolite means batteries. Stay full batteries. Autolite means ignition systems, the lifeline of your car. And now here again is Mr. Herbert Marshall.
It has been my pleasure to appear tonight on Suspense. And it is my pleasure to extend to all of you for Autolite, Tony Leader and his Suspense cast and crew and myself, best wishes for the holiday season. Next week on radio's outstanding theater of thrills, you will hear William Bendix in another gripping study of suspense.
Herbert Marshall will soon be seen with Margaret O'Brien in the Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer production of The Secret Garden. Tonight's suspense play was dramatized by Robert Tallman from a story by John Collier. Music was composed by Lucien Morawek and conducted by Lud Gluskin. The entire production was under the direction of Anton M. Leader. In the coming weeks, Suspense will present such stars as Ethel Barrymore, Dana Andrews, Robert Montgomery, Danny Kaye, and many others. Make it a point to listen each Thursday to
Suspense!
radio's outstanding theater of thrills. And next Thursday, same time, hear William Bendix in
Suspense! This is the Autolite Suspense Show. While we in America are enjoying an abundant Christmas, millions of people in Europe are still hungry. Your $10 sent to CARE, C-A-R-E, will go a long way towards putting some other more fortunate, unfortunate European family back on the road to health, happiness, and freedom. Good night, Merry Christmas from Autolite. And thank you for joining us once again tonight here on the BBTBC. And that's a good night from me.
and a Merry Christmas from me. Did they save me a corner slice?
Yeah.
This is the National Broadcasting Company.
I guess that's it.